Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's updates on the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia, today we can report about a significant large-scale operation by the Tigrayan Defense Forces in the North Gondar zone, centered on the town of Adi Arke, over towards the west, as you can see here on my map. But please understand that this map is not completely updated in terms of actual control. It is roughly correct, but it would appear with this operation that this may actually become correct very, very shortly. But first, before we get into that large-scale operation by the Tigrayan Defense Forces and what that is exactly all about, we'll talk about another issue going on before that, but it would appear that the forces of the Abiy loyalists, in their widespread use of Turkish TB2 drones and Chinese Wingloon 2 drones, have launched attacks on United Nations convoys that has resulted in the death of at least one United Nations worker. So again, we continue to see the Abiy loyalist formations in conjunction with its supporters within the Turkish government, within the United Arab Emirates government, within the People's Republic of China, who again are sponsoring and supporting the Abiy loyalists in terms of the utilizations of some of these more advanced drones. And it is quite possible that the trigger puller, so to speak, the individual that actually launched the precision-guided munition could have been a member or former member, a contractor or current member of the Turkish Armed Forces, operating as a payload specialist for the TB2 drone. It's also possible it was an Emirati operator utilizing the drone, and obviously it could have been a trained member of the Abiy loyalist intelligence organizations that are also utilizing said drones. And again, we are seeing the TB2 drone, we are seeing the Wingloon 2, the Wingloon 1. That's more of a reconnaissance drone, but what they have done is started to utilize their bomb trucks, their Su-27s, their MiG-23s, with the coordinates that the Wingloon 1 drone have provided, and then they go over and they drop their payload roughly on that target. But again, that is imprecise bombing. In the case where we saw the United Nations worker terminated by the forces of the Abiy loyalists, that was obviously done by a real-time precision-guided drone strike from either a TB2 or a Wingloon type of drone. But those operations are continuing really in the south Tigray region, south of Korim and other areas, south of Alamata. We have continued to see the forces of the Tigrayan army push the Abiy loyalists out of Alamata and are now operating along the border. They have reset the front line towards Waja and other places. And in fact, there's a possibility at some point, at least we at Military and Foreign Affairs Network believe we could see a new operation, quite possibly centered on retaking Kobo and other areas in the southern Tigray region, depending on how some of the more recent operations continue. Now, the question is how long is this drone support going to continue? There is a significant amount of diplomatic pressure being applied to the Abiy loyalists in terms of the drone use, in terms of the Turkish support, in terms of the United Arab Emirates support. The Chinese, the People's Republic of China really don't give a hoot and will continue to supply drones and munitions to the Abiy loyalists. Now, with that being said, China usually does not provide actual contractors on the ground to provide upkeep and payload specialists and drone operators for these systems. That is the responsibility of the host country. And unfortunately for the B loyalist, there has been some challenges around maintaining these drones and being able to deploy fairly competent operators that can deploy said system. So again, we're seeing the use of the contractors, specifically of Turkish origin, being deployed into the area to assist the Abiy loyalist government. And in fact, we have also seen reports where Turkish Special Forces operators, either prior or current, have been deployed as forward Air Force controllers, aircraft controllers, for the Abiy loyalist. In fact, we can confirm that within the vicinity of Weldia and Wachale, Dese, Hike, the actual Turkish flag has been raised over some towns on occasion. So we suspect that there is a fairly patriotic Turkish operator that made the unwise choice of raising the Turkish flag over towns that were recently recaptured by the Abiy loyalists in conjunction with Turkish Special Forces operators. But let's go back over and let's have a look at what is actually happening in North Gondar with this very large operation that is reportedly being undertaken by the Tigrayan Defense Forces within the vicinity of a DRK. So is the Tigrayan Defense Forces looking to seize and retake control over a DRK and hold it? Possibly. Are they looking to move further south towards Dabark, Dabat, and possibly threaten Gondar at some point? That is also a possibility. But what we believe at MFAN is that a fairly sizable force of the Tigrayan Defense Forces has launched a fairly hasty operation in which it has enveloped and destroyed a B loyalist formation that was the leading force that was moving in the vicinity of a DRK and had seized control of a DRK. Again, this force is mainly Fano, paramilitary militias, Amhara regional militias. We have seen less of the actual Abiy loyalist regular soldiery operating in the North Gondar zone, and this area has been predominantly the area in which we are seeing widespread use of Amhara regional militias within the scope of this conflict. And in all probability, from the initial information that we are receiving, another operational success by the Tigrayan Defense Forces in which it enveloped and is in the process, at least on the surface, it sounds like, of destroying a fairly large unit of the Amhara regional militias within the vicinity of a DRK. But that operation continues as we speak, and we obviously were watching it very, very closely in terms of what happens next. Again, we have seen momentum shifts in this conflict, in which we could possibly see a rapid advance towards Dabark and other areas, depending on the success of this operation near a DRK. But again, in all probability, it is an envelop and destroy mission. We have seen this time and time again within the course of this conflict. The Tigrayan Defense Forces enjoy operating in this rugged, hilly terrain that you see around a DRK. And again, they probably were able to isolate a forward deployed unit, and again are in the process of attempting to destroy said unit. In other news, we continue to see activity along the Afar Tigray border. It would appear that the Abiy loyalist formations, again, are directly supporting Afar regional militias that more or less are acting as marauder-type forces where they conduct raids along the border with the Tigray region. Again, these are more or less probing attacks. These are not sustained offensive operations, but again, are acting more as marauders and conducting cross-border operations near the Afar Tigray border. Again, we have seen punitive actions by the Tigrayan Defense Forces in response to some of these operations by the Afar regional militias. And again, we could possibly see that in the near future, depending on the current operations by these Afar regional marauding groups. But again, that is the news for today. We're watching the information out of North Gondar very closely in the operation near DRK. We are again hearing initial reports of an envelop and destroy operation by the TDF, and we'll continue to monitor the situation in that area again very, very closely. That's what we have for today. I hope everybody has a most wonderful new year. Stay safe, be careful, and we will talk again soon. Have a good day.